Dr. Louis Zimmerman wants to make a long-term medical holographic program using Julian Bashir as a template. Jake Sisko says that sometimes Dr. Bashir gives way too much information. And a kiss from Lita completely short circuits ROM. Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Seventh Rule with Cirroc Lofton.
Hello, hello, hello.
My name is Ryan T. Husk, and I rewound that part about 5 times to watch Rom go like, oh, after Lita kissed him. It was the greatest thing. That should be my backdrop right now. Today, we're doing a review of Deep Space Nine, Season 5, Dr. Bashir, I presume, story by Jimmy Diggs. We know Jimmy Diggs, written by Ronald D. Moore, directed by David Livingston. This was February 24th, 1997. Let's get into it. How are you, Cirroc Lofton?
Doing well, doing good. I'm excited about this. So this was a change of pace for me a little bit from where we just left off with the two-parter, right? So we just came off of these huge Jem'Hadar, like Dominion storylines where everybody's life was at threat. And now we've kind of taken a step back here and we're going back to, building up what's happening on the station and getting back into the past of these characters, which I also enjoy as well. Once you start to get on the hook for buying into what's going on, all the storylines kind of have their own little place and meaning for you, right?
That's a good point. Real quick, we'd also like to give a shout out to our good friend, Mr. Bill Victor Arucan, who is out. Arucan, who is out filming like nobody's business lately. He's filming Alien Danger 1 and 2. He's out acting and producing all. He's in LA more often than Cirroc and I are, and he's not even based in LA. It's crazy. So shout out to our good friend, Mr. Bill Victor Arucan. Good guy, good friend. I'm sure we'll be seeing him soon.
Yeah, okay. That's our guy, and he's doing it big. I didn't realize he's always working, but he's always working.
He is a man on fire right now. It is insane.
It's a good thing.
But he's a go-getter. He makes his luck. He makes it happen, and that's what we got to do in this business. Now, you mentioned it's good to see what's happening now, and on the station, and when you said that, it kind of made it seem like something I hadn't thought of, where it's like this 26 episode season, if you think of it as like a movie script or like a whole script of something or a chapter in a book, there's the ups and downs. You can't have, like a roller coaster that just goes down for 26 episodes. You have to have those big jumps, and then you have a moment to catch your breath, or a moment to reassess, or like in horror films, you have that moment of humor. You got the comic relief for a little bit to gather yourself. And this was one of those, right?
Yeah, it was. And what DS9 does so well is they kind of go around the board and pick 1 or 2 characters to say, now we're going to develop on them. We're going to build their backstory. We're going to give them something, that's going to alter the course of who they are, or something that's a reflective moment where they're looking in the mirror and they have to learn about themselves and make this leap of faith of understanding. You see it with Odo kind of, getting into his history and his heritage and what he's about. Yeah. And then you see him losing it, what that's about. And now being a human, and then you see him get it again. So it's like they're building this. They're building all of this stuff up, right? You get Kira's background, freedom fighters, and all of this stuff, and it comes back, it goes away. It could be a baby episode. It's just about her pregnancy, has nothing to do with her militant history or past, or that it could. So they kind of always kind of develop these characters, and they pick a few. Just say, hey, let's go into here. Let's talk about Nog right now. This is what Nog's doing. Let's build up on Nog some more. Let's talk about where he's at in his development and where he's at with his Starfleet and being an ensign. So all of these things are kind of really good jobs. They're segues that go away from the main story, which is DS9 as a whole and the survival of the wormhole and Bajor and whatever they're trying to protect. That's the big overarching message that we see, right?
Yeah, and I'm wondering, that's true. The way they kind of pepper in these episodes that give us, information and backstory on characters. They're not just, exposition episodes, but they do serve as such while still being fun and entertaining and interesting and or exciting. But I wonder if when they're in the room, in the writer's room, they're thinking, okay, let's spread the, they're kind of like, it's almost like a jigsaw puzzle or something where like, okay, let's put the Nog episode here and then put that there. And I think it's probably some of that, but it's also like, dude, they're on such a tight schedule. I can't imagine it's easy for them to just plan out all 26 episodes beautifully and perfectly. Like, okay, we'll put this one here, we'll put that one there. Because I bet you, like, you got budget to deal with, you have actor availability, you have production issues. They're just going to do the best they can. And it's like, it's amazing that they were able to do it the way they did. It seems like it was perfectly mapped out.
Yeah, I always go back to the genius of Ira Bear,
who
I have this tremendous respect for his mind and how it works and just how he thinks. He is this master, puppeteer, where he's able to pull these strings from so many different angles, not just the way he writes, but the way he motivates other writers to write and challenges them. He's just amazing in those kinds of ways. So I'm going to say that he has a lot to do with why it seems so melodic and musical in the way it's presented. So you have those high notes, then you go back to the mids, and then and he's mixing it up. He has a very good ability to kind of be the overseer and say, okay, we'll do this here. We can go slow here. And I'm probably sure that this is a little bit of a slower episode or a lower budget episode because majority of what we see is taking place on the station and already existing sets, right?
Right. Yeah, good point.
So no money for special effects or crazy costuming. It seems like that this was one of those things where they probably blew their load on the last two-parter in the mid-season and said, okay, we're going to give it to them big because they did give us movie quality two-parter. And then they go into this, okay, now we'll go into these character developments. They did have a little bit of special effects with the double Bashir, and the double Dr. Herman. So there was a little bit of that. But overall, I just feel like this was a nice episode to kind of take us back, give us a little, take your breath, catch your breath. We just had the whole thing on the brink of disaster.
Yeah.
And now we're going to, allow the audience to kind of catch up, take their breath, and learn more about who the characters that are in front of them.
Mm-hmm. And you're right. As you were saying, they wanted to give it to him big. And, they wanted to, I think they blew their load on Dr. Zimmerman here because, as you were saying, because that guy is not cheap, Bob Picardo. I'm sure he's like, well, I don't know. I'm already on Star Trek Voyager. Maybe you've heard of it. If you'd like me to do double duty this week, then, let's see. So maybe they couldn't do special effects. Maybe they're like, we got Picardo. We wanted spaceships everywhere. No, but I'm sure he was more than happy to play ball. I did kind of, when he showed up, which was a great surprise. When he showed up, my first thought was, I wonder how he felt about it. If he was excited about it to build up his character in Voyager, or if he was excited about it to play a somewhat different character than his character on Voyager, or if he was excited about it because he's just like, hey, more money, or what it was, or higher IMDb rating, who knows? But I would be curious to know, if he were excited about this role and why, because there's so many different reasons that I could see that he would be, but I don't know which ones they are.
Yeah, but I think some of how he felt was input into his performance in the scenes. And there were moments in which I felt like he was envious of Bashir or jealous of him in some slight way. He hated to share the spotlight with him, right? And I felt like, oh, maybe there was something there, because who's the greatest doctor and all this it's that kind of a competition, right? But I think more than that, for me, if it was me having the opportunity to work on Voyager or on any other show, I would be most curious about, what it was like, the experience. What is, how is the tempo? What is it like working with the crew? How are the other cast members? Kind of the whole feel for it. That would be the thing that most intrigued me. And then that way I could compare it to what I'm already getting on my show and see, is it better or worse, right? Is it easier to work with these actors? Is it easier to work with the crew?
Yeah. That
would be the thing that I'd be trying to get out of it. Yeah.
Yeah, because Aaron used to talk about his episode on Voyager. We also had Armin was in the first episode of Voyager. Now we had Picardo playing Dr. Lewis Zimmerman over on Deep Space Nine. It would be interesting to know if Bob's like, nah, I'm sticking with the guys on Voyager. They're more fun. Or if he's like, hey, nice set you guys got here. This is pretty good.
Right. So you never know what are those kinds of subtleties. And also how you're being treated, right? If Picardo's getting treated like a star on our show when he's guesting, he's like, wait a minute, I like this. They don't treat you like this on Voyager,
man. I'm number 9 on the call sheet on Voyager, but here they're meeting me with Andy's mints. I like it.
So there's always those kinds of things. The other thing I wanted to just point out really quickly is how Star Trek really does a job of mixing up the people that they work with so that there is this constant overlap between cast and crew from season upon season, episode, series to series. It just continues to have this overlap, and they're really good at that overlap. They obviously overlap the original series with Next Generation cast. Next Generation gets the overlap with Deep Space Nine. You see Frakes and LeVar Burton directing DS9 episodes and other episodes of Voyager and so on and so forth. And they continued this overlapping, even with the producers. Brandon Braga goes from here to there, and there's this constant slight overlap from one thing to another.
It's one big family, even if it's different series. Yeah. And I think a lot of that too is logistically speaking. I mean, when you have 26 episodes a season, you can let the DP direct an episode or two. You can let the actor direct an episode or two. More so than, I feel like it's a lot tougher nowadays when most shows are now between 6 and 12 episodes per season. And that's got to be tough, but Star Trek has always done a great job of, like you say, overlapping things, doing that for the fans so that fans can say, hey, this is my favorite guy in this show and this and that. But it's also great to show loyalty to the actors, to show loyalty to the crew, and to reuse the actors that you liked, whether it's bringing back an actor to audition for another role that didn't get this previous role. Like Tim Russ, we all know, was either the second or third option to play Geordi LaForge, and he almost got it, but he didn't. And so they brought him back to do one episode as just some random character in the episode Starship Mine. Actually, if you remember that, when I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, Starship Mine was the one with Calvin Hutchinson, the guy that was talking and Data was trying to do his impressions of him. Tim Russ was in that episode. And so obviously they brought him back to audition for that. He got it. And then later on, they brought him back to audition to be a Klingon in Deep Space Nine, and they kept reusing him. And then finally something stuck, and he actually got a series regular role as Tuvok. And all of that just goes to being loyal to the people that you like, being loyal to the people that are good to you. You know, it's smart business sense.
Yeah, and there are other reasons too for that, I believe. You know, just to give an example of a few of them. One of them is that there is a formula that they use, right? There is a formula to how Star Trek is done. Whether, you know, you're not seeing steady cam work and you know, shaky handheld camera work. You're not seeing ridiculous lighting that doesn't make sense, you know, with exception to the camera lens flares that we've been seeing on lately. Exception to that. So there is usually a formula, and the people that know the formula best, the ones who are already in tune with the, you know, the world of Star Trek, what the universe is about, essentially, you know, how they, you know, interacting with aliens and the different concepts that are in play right now. Those people that are most familiar with it are the ones that they like to use, right? The other aspect is that they were cleared by certain people at the network. And those people that are cleared by a network, right? The network saying, okay, yes, we'll use X such and such as the director. Once they've been cleared and they've been proven to show good results, it's not a difficult thing to bring them back. Oh, yeah, we already proved that guy. He's good. You can bring him back.
They're part of the team now. Yeah. They're
part of the team. We know what they're good for. They're going to show up. They're not going to leave us hanging. They're not going to leave the set and storm off and whatever, you know. So those guys, they're cleared, they're good, and they technically and usually, you know, put them in a category of reuse that guy. And that's why we've seen so many directors who have done 6, 7 episodes of multiple series.
Yeah. And we see it so often in Star Trek. And I don't know, as a fan, it's just a really great thing to see. And now we had, again, as a fan, it was cool to see this guy right here being used again, being part of the team. I don't think... No, he was also in Star Trek First Contact, which was the second Next Generation movie, but the first movie they did on their own. He was really great. He had a line where he says, perhaps an analgesic cream. I don't know, it's just funny. He said that to the Borg because they looked itchy. But anyway, it's, you know, I don't want to ruin it because I'm sure you'll be the first in line to watch it again. But anyway, there is a lot to talk about in this specific episode because it seemed like they crammed a lot into it as far as they had Robert Picardo guest starring, right? Which is usually enough for an episode. But then they also introduced 2 more characters who were Julian Bashir's parents. By the way, can we just say for a second that the second Julian Bashir's dad walks in with what sounded like an Australian accent, he's like, "Hey," he's like, oi, son, how you doing? We're gonna throw some shrimp on the barbie. Hey, I don't know. And I was like, huh? What? Like the second now. I don't know if it is necessarily completely Australian. It seems like that actor, I can't remember his name, but Brian Duff, something like that. But he's got like a mixture of an accent, but it sounded extremely Australian. And the mother sounded maybe more Egyptian or Middle Eastern in her accent. And then, you know, Sid's accent sounds like it's straight out of London, basically. So it's funny that they're just a family with, you know, with mixed accents all over the place. It made it for a fun time. I don't know if you caught any of that.
Yeah, I did. I actually thought it was one of the rare scenes in which we see so many people with accents in a scene, right? Because
and they're like, oh, Americans won't know the difference.
Yeah, no, I was looking at it. I was like, this is a lot of accents here. And I couldn't pinpoint which region, like you said, where the accents were coming from. I was trying to say, is that a you know, this kind of accent? Is that from Bombay, or is it a British Indian accent? You know, I was really trying to figure it out too, but I didn't put much on it. I actually just really focused on the performances. and what they were trying to get across, because I knew, the accents are here and there, and those are difficult to do. Not everybody's an expert at pulling those off. Not everybody can do what Leonardo DiCaprio did in Blood Diamond and pull off a South African accent as well as he did.
Really? I've never seen that.
Yeah, look at Blood Diamond and watch Leonardo DiCaprio's South African accent.
Because South African is a tough one. I actually have my Siri, the thing that you do your GPS on your phone. I have that set to a South African accent just for fun. Nice. So he's always like, at the next set of lights, turn left. It just makes me feel like I got a cool guy next to me, just, hanging out.
Yeah, just hanging out with you. Yeah. Giving you directions. But yeah, so I really paid attention to the performance, and actually I thought they gave a really good performance. Both of the parents, as far as conveying what the emotion, the fact that the dad wasn't really a success in life, but pretending to be a success in life. The way that I thought Bashir was a little bit hard on his parents, they looked way too hard on them for the decisions. I was 7 and you didn't like it. I was like, whoa, like, dude, you didn't know the difference between a giraffe and a house.
Man, I wrote that down. I was like, dude, hey, yeah, you gotta I get why he's upset, but you gotta cut him some slack. Bro. I wrote, what was it? They said he didn't know at 6 years old, he did not know the difference between a cat and a dog, nor did he know the difference between a tree and a house. I'm like, and you were 6? I'm like, that is not a little slow. You're a fucking slug. He was a slug.
Yeah, that's beyond nuts. Like, you don't know that's a tree in a house, but they look the same to you.
Yeah, man. When I was 6 years old, I was walking to school and playing soccer, dude. Like, you gotta.
Yeah.
Hey,
I can see Bashir at 6 knocking on the tree, like they won't open the door. I don't get it. He's not home.
Yeah. That's
that's come on, man. You needed some enhancement. You should be thankful about that, because it turned out pretty good. You should have asked for some emotional enhancement when it comes to women and talking to them, because apparently you didn't get any of that.
Yeah, a little emotional intelligence. Yeah,
a little bit of sensitivity when you're dealing with women. So yeah, I see where he was on the, what do they call it? So they used to call it the short bus. So what would it be in 400 years from now? Did the short shuttle? He was on the
runabout. Maybe the runabout. I don't know. But
he was on a real small runabout.
Well, what it was just, I don't know. That line too dropped me. They dropped my jaw. I was like, I was like, that's not that's not normal. That is not a normal thing. I mean, that means.
But I want to credit DS9 and the writers once again, because this is like, they're talking about genetic engineering. I don't know what year this is. It's late 90s. It's mid to late 90s, right? And here they are talking
97.
about, 97. This is, they're talking about genetic engineering and what we would kind of deal with, it was banned, it was illegal. So it's something that people didn't want. And you see headlines in today's news about super soldiers being created and, genetically modified soldiers that are able to either be tougher or withstand hunger or other kinds of things. So these things are actually really being developed currently in the headlines. And here they are 20 some years ago talking about the same topic. So I just really like the way that they just pick these topics, and they really pick topics that have lasting meaning and constant conversation.
Even become more relevant today than back then somehow, which is just the weirdest thing. So real quick, we're going to hop over to our break and come over on the other side for the second segment. And we'll do that right now. How's that sound? We'll be right back on the Seventh Rule. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Seventh Rule with Cirroc Lofton.
Hello.
This is a good one. We have so much to talk about, and we haven't covered most of it because there's just so much to talk about. Just because this is a fun episode, there's always so much good stuff to discuss. Real quick, here are the trivioids that may or may not have made the cutting room floor. Rom practices asking Lita out on a date. Chief O'Brien is back in the zone at darts. Dr. Zimmerman wants to make a long-term medical holographic program using Dr. Bashir as a template. The Antidian transport wishes to leave a day early, as Odo told us. Julian Bashir wants Zimmerman to not interview his parents. Zimmerman assures Bashir that the final product will be zesty. Jake says that sometimes Julian gives way too much information. Rom eavesdrops on Lita's date with Dr. Zimmerman. Jules's parents do the old pop-in on him. Zimmerman is offering Lita her own cafe. Julian is working on 2 studies of prion replication and ganglionic cell clusters. When Bashir was 6, he couldn't tell a dog from a cat or a tree from a dog or a tree from a house. A kiss from Lita short circuits Rom. And lastly, Lita somehow keeps a straight face while Rom short circuits, which was because he was just like, oh, and I watched her. She was just like focused on Zimmerman and talking to him. And man, we got to ask Chase about that. How the hell she kept a straight face during that moment.
Yeah, Rom had me rolling in this episode. I was laughing out loud a few times. There was one moment there where he tries to explain everything to her, right? But she's like, you know what? Give me a reason why I shouldn't leave. And he couldn't figure out what to say.
He just kept going, I don't know.
And you know what? And she's like, thanks, Rom. And she gets up and walks away. And he says, you're welcome. When he said that, I was rolling. I'm like, this guy is just...
Okay, let me ask you this. Have you ever been Rom in this situation where it's like there's a girl that likes you or you think she does, and you just can't spit it out, whether you're a chicken, whether you just have too much ego? Sometimes if there's friends, like you kind of don't want to go out on a limb like that. Have you ever been that Rom before?
No, because I have no shame, and I will talk to somebody, and I might stumble on my words, but I won't withhold saying something, right? So I'll say what I want to say. It might come out wrong, and because I like you so much, it might sound weird.
99% of the people listening to you right now, including myself, are going like, you lucky motherfucker, because we've all been that guy a bunch of times. We've all been him.
I'm actually my friend is just like Rom, which is hilarious because he calls me up and says stuff like, yo, I saw this girl today and I should have said to her, I should have said, and he'll go through this whole thing. And like, no, actually, I should have said, and I'm thinking, no, you should have said something on the spot, regardless of whatever it was.
Just say anything, just something.
You should have said hello, goodbye, hi, something, anything, but rehearsing what you should have said after the fact that the moment is lost. And for me, that's not something I have difficulty with. I always jump on the moment. Now, if I mess up and say something wrong or it comes out stupid or I'm not funny and my joke lands flat or whatever it is, that can happen to me. But the moment I know that is only so long, I have to figure out, I have to say something.
Your advice.
So, but I do have friends like him.
Yeah, your advice to your friend reminds me of the advice one of my screenwriting professors, the great Dan Watanabe, by the way. He would also give acting advice, and he would basically say, hey, showing up on time is 90% of the job, right? And because that's already like the toughest part in a lot of ways. And then what you're telling your friend is just show up and say something. Just say something. You can worry about the minutia of what you should have said or what you should say later. The 90% of the job is just say something
on time. So the window
yes, on time.
The window is so long, right?
Yeah.
2 people walking down the street, right?
That's it.
Face walking down the street. So you have that moment. It's like, oh, if you let that person walk past you, and now you're running back after them, chasing them down the street. Now you look like a weirdo, right? as opposed to when they were face to face to you, right close to you, and said, "Whoa, I don't know what to say to you, but you're gorgeous," or whatever it is, and you can start from there. You might mess it up. It might not work. She might look at you crazy, like, weirdo, get away from me. But at least you seized the moment of that moment when you guys were both face to face.
And there's no what if. And speaking of chasing people down the street, Lita, played by Chase Masterson,
yes,
gave him more than enough opportunities. It wasn't just like a one-time pass through the. She was just, and she played it. Both of them played it so well. The way she was basically leading a horse to water, but couldn't force him to drink. You know, she was like, go ahead, Rom. Here I am.
Yes.
I'm right. And then the beautifully
He
written
played
lines.
Nervous, as good as anybody I've ever seen play nervous ever.
Right.
Ever.
Totally.
He's so good at that nerve.
And the lines that they wrote for Lita and how well she performed them, especially the lines where she says, I'm leaving to whatever. And she says, unless I have a reason to stay. Do I have a reason to stay? Like she just keeps beating him. She's like, unless I have a reason to stay. And nothing. Okay.
Nothing.
Do I have a reason to stay? And he's still like, I mean, beautifully written, beautifully performed by both of them. Really, really was happy with that.
And the other scene there was when he sees Lita with Bob Picardo, and he's like, I have to talk to you real quick.
Yeah.
It's important. It's emergency, right? And then she's like, what do you want to say to me, Rom? And he's like, I want to. I want. And it just, that moment I was laughing my ass off because I think this guy is so perfect at playing this nervous guy. I want to ask. I want. So yeah, I thought he's great, man. I really, I thought he was fantastic in this episode. But the whole time I'm like, just say it. Like you end up screaming at the TV, like, just say it, Ron. She already, she already gave you a hug and kiss when you stood up and started the bar association, right? That's when you knew. Like, you knew she liked you. She put it out there, and all you had to do was follow up, and for him to take. That's what was a little bit hard for me to believe, that he was this nervous, because he had already gotten kind of an invitation, right? In that moment, I thought.
Yeah. Makes you wonder how Nog was ever born.
and speaking of Nog, they gave us some backstory on Nog's mom, and who we've never seen before. But Quark goes into detail about how Nog's mom essentially, took advantage of Rom and got him for everything he owned.
Yeah, did they mention Nog though? I don't think he actually said Nog's name, right?
No, they did. He got an M in this one.
Oh,
yeah, because they said Nog's mom. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Nog's mom.
Her name was Primadora.
Yeah, Primadora.
Yeah.
Which sounds like a delicious pasta, by the way.
Yes, and her sister Prima Donna is also
Zip
available. Yes, there was a moment there, by the way, when they were talking about this genetic engineered Bashir. Mm-hmm. When he was going into, by the way, there were some great moments there between him and his buddy O'Brien. I thought was great, right? His buddy was like, look, man, this is what happened, and I'm telling you, and you're over here mad at me because I'm telling you, why did you allow this to happen? Why did you let the hologram version of me talk to my parents?
That was a good twist.
It was a good twist. It was a good twist. And O'Brien, I thought, talked it out like a good friend would. Like, I didn't set you up. I didn't know that was going to happen. How the hell did I know, that you had this secret that you were even hiding? So I thought that was a good, like, friendship type moment between them, or like a heart-to-heart conversation in a moment in which it was really crucial and critical for Bashir's life, right?
Right. And a cute moment for me, I want to go right back to that in a second, but this is just a little small thing, was when O'Brien was being interviewed by Zimmerman, and he's like, And Zimmerman's like, give me all the dirt, give me all the dirt. And then he's like, he's not going to read this, right? He's like, nope. And then he says nice things about him, which you don't expect. But then he goes, but then he's like, wait, you're sure he's not going to read this, right? Like, it's so funny because it's the opposite of what you think. Like, he's just like, it's not that he wants to say bad things. It's like he wants to say good things as long as he won't read it, which I thought was very funny because it's the opposite of what you expect. But yeah, when they gave us that twist, I thought that twist was really good about the parents telling, the LMH, the long-term medical holographic program, the secret that he's genetically engineered. But I thought right there, it could have had more of a bomb drop, because that's when we, the audience, first find this out, that it's a completely different character than what we thought. And I thought there'd be like a change of music or a bomb drop. And I kind of wondered why there wasn't more of a punch to it. And I suppose the reason was because 10 seconds later, there's a second punch, which is them coming out and we're finding out that they revealed it to them. So it might be too much to have two punches in 10 seconds. You know what I mean? So they probably saved the big punch for that second twist, which was a great twist, I thought.
Yeah, I thought it was too. They had Doctor and O'Brien were in the background. I thought that was a good bomb drop moment for me. What I didn't realize was what the stakes were involved was, that it was so frowned upon in Starfleet and all of this stuff. We didn't get that information until after the bomb was dropped about it, right? Mm-hmm. So it's kind of hard knowing the stakes that are up at that moment without having the information that exposes what that's about until afterwards. So I think they did a good job at revealing it, having him talk to the hologram. That was great. And like the hologram was so good that it convinced the parents that they didn't know that they weren't talking to their son, which is another just clever way to write that. The other thing I thought was great was, one, I like when episodes use the title of the episode inside of the episode. And this one they did when Picardo says, Dr. Bashir, I presume, right?
First thing he says.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's perfect. It's like, I just like it when they do that, because those are the moments you look for. It's like a title song of an album. You always want to get to that title song because the name of the album is that song, right? So you're like, oh, I got to go to that song because that's got to be the one.
Or if you have bands like Kiss or AC/DC, the title of the song is just in the chorus 50 times. They just, the chorus is just repeating the title of the song dozens and dozens of times. Everybody, check out Kiss songs, check out AC/DC songs. That's what it is. I want to rock and roll all night and party every day. Repeat. Hell's Bells, repeat. Big Gun, repeat. Anyway.
Nice. But I do want to say this. We didn't talk much about David Livingston, but I want to talk about the things that he does with his particular episodes, and it may be because of the shots that he chose, the way they lit it. But there were scenes in this episode that became headshots. Specifically, my appearance in this episode. Yeah. The one scene that I'm in where I say that, Dr. Bashir sometimes gives up way too much information. They actually took that one little scene and turned it into a headshot of mine, right? So that's one of my headshots is the still of that moment. Was it like, I didn't even notice, was it like the brown vest? Yes. Yeah. And I don't think I'm the only one who got a headshot derived out of that scene and out of that moment. I think other actors, I think Major Kira also has one from that same scene. And I even think O'Brien has one from that same scene. So for some reason or another, there are headshots of us that are circulating, specifically, I think, from this episode and specifically from the interrogation scene. Or the interviews.
Let me pull it up real quick. You're right. I think it's this right here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
it's a great shot. I mean, obviously your outfit's not as colorful as we remember all the others being, but it's during the metamorphosis of your outfits. It's good lighting,
Yeah.
it's a good look. You're definitely noticeably older, so it's a good time to do it. Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah. So they used a lot of stills from this episode. So just a shout out to David Livingston and also DP and whoever else was involved in getting that done.
You're right. If there's a shot that is set so well that they want to turn into a headshot, it's got to be lit pretty well.
It's got to be lit pretty well. It's got to be pulled off. So I noticed that too as well. How funny, I don't know. It was complete chauvinistic work as usual in this episode, but that scene with him and Lita was kind of classic when he says, "Oh God, he needs a woman with body and brains."
Oh man, that was ruthless.
Was that not ruthless?
Quark was like, Quark was on fire. This guy, I was like, my goodness gracious, the things that
he was so ruthless. I was like, how did he get away with saying this without getting slapped?
What did he say? I mean, I'm going to repeat it. But only because it was mentioned in the episode.
This is a direct quote.
Maybe I didn't write it down, but I'm pretty sure I did. Lita said something to the effect of, Lita said, oh, here we go. She says, Quark says, he needs a woman with a body and brains. And she goes, I have brains, by the way, delivered very well. I noticed. And he says, sure you do. That's why I hired you. Now eat up and then take those brains back to the Dabo wheel where the customers can have a good long look at them. God.
I was like,
she's thinking, all right, man. All right. That cafe sounded pretty nice right about now because I do got brains and I'm tired of you looking at them.
And, yeah, basically, I thought that was like, oh God, how did he get away with that without getting slapped in the face? Because that was just like chauvinism 101 right there. I thought it was hilarious a little bit.
And by the way, Armin Shimmerman, our good buddy, is like the least chauvinistic person ever.
No,
it's so funny how like sometimes they're giving lines that are like the complete opposite. Like in the past where there was Nog doing a line that was like chauvinistic or rude. And we're like, he is the least rude and least chauvinistic, except for to you. He's kind of rude to you back in the day. He would kind of zing you pretty good, but
he was a zinger, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, Quark is not anything like him. I mean, Armin is nothing like Quark, but Armin is such a great performer and actor that he is able to just nail these really. I mean, this is a comical punchline, so he can do the drama. He can also do the comedy, and he has the full range in his scope. So, no, Armin delivered that as well as you can.
Right.
Sure. Yeah. That's why I hired you.
Yeah. And the beauty of that line, this is what I think the intelligence really where the intelligence reveals itself is. The beauty of that line is that line is not an insult to Lita. That line that Quark is delivering is an insult to himself. You know what I mean? It's giving us insight into his character way more than it's giving any insight into Lita's character. And that's the beauty of a line like that, is it doesn't reflect on her, it reflects on him. And it's just even that much better when it's delivered by somebody that you would never take offense to that because of who he is as a person, that he would never say anything like that. So I wonder if that makes it easier for an actor to take that line, for Chase to take a line from him, knowing that that's the furthest thing from him, from how he feels as an actor. I wonder if it just helps to take in a line like that without having any of your own, personal, isms or anything come out.
Yeah, I don't think you do, because you just deliver it however it's written as an actor. And I mean, look, in this same episode, with minus the chauvinism, but certainly with the same level of intent to to demean somebody, Sid Diggs' hologram does it to himself when he's like, I hope I'm not as boring as you or something, right? So,
and he goes at it with the EMH, with Robert Picardo's doctor character too, and he's like, first the EMH says, is he even old enough to be a doctor? And he's like, oh, I suggest you get rid of this archaic guy, he's too old for this.
Right. So even, I mean, so like I said, when Sid is delivering the same kind of demeaning remark towards himself, you know, you don't see him getting, all crazy about it. He's actually interested because he's like, oh, that's like, this is me talking to me. This is kind of a different thing that I have to kind of wrap my head around. But yeah, man, I thought that she took it very well. And we've already seen Lita prove that she has brains and that she's more than just a pretty girl in a dress, right? She's had a lot of character development in so far up to this point that shows that, like, even the fact that, going back to the Bar Association, the thing that attracted her to Rom was that he stood up for himself, that he was, this brave guy, and that he was using his mind, and he was an intelligent person, right? He was outsmarting or outwitting the man. So if that's what she's attracted to, then certainly she has, more than just good looks standing there with an empty head. So I think that just,
I feel attacked.
Like you said, I think, like you said, it reveals more about who Quark is than who she is, right?
Mm-hmm. I think you're right. I think it's time for the nitpick number one.
Oh, here it is.
There he is. There we are. Fixing his eyebrows for him. All right, here it comes. Got just a couple minutes left.
What could it be? What could it be?
It's time for the nitpick, damn it. When Julian Bashir says, "Don't contact my parents," Dr. Zimmerman types on his pad, "Note to self, contact subject's parents immediately." If he needed to contact his parents immediately, you don't type down, "Contact them immediately." You just contact them. Otherwise, it's not immediate. How can you contact somebody immediate if you're just taking a note to contact? In the amount of time it took him to type that, he could have contacted them immediately. Piss me off.
The things that piss you off sometimes.
But yeah. So then there's also Jake Sisko guesses the IMDb score.
I thought you were going to mention Vulcan Love Slave number 2, The Revenge, but you never did. So I'm going to throw that out there.
Please, yes, yes.
I'm going to say this was about a 7 to me. This was like a 7.71. The biggest moment that I got out of it was I was excited to finally see Rom and Lita get together. I think that ultimately that's what we wanted out of this. It seems like they've been meant to be together this whole time. We've seen their romance kind of bud. We've seen Bashir and Lita separate. Definitely like the line that Picardo comes up with when he says, "Who broke it off?" And Bashir says, "She did." And he's like, "I like her already."
yeah, that's solid.
That was a solid line. So, but no, I'm going to say between a 7 and a 7.2. That's my guess.
Well, I think the fans liked what you mentioned. They also liked that Bob Picardo was in this episode and only this episode. That's good fan service there. I think they also like Bashir's parents, including his dad, who also the actor also plays Babu, one of the a very memorable character on Seinfeld. So IMDb gave it a 7.9, actually the high end of 7.
Okay. Yeah, I should have taken into account that it is Bob Picardo here, and he's doing a crossover from Voyager. So
that's big for the fans. They love that stuff.
It's big for the fans. Yeah, yeah.
So everybody at home, we may have a surprise for you on the free-for-all up next. So stick around for the free-for-all because it's coming in just a moment as soon as I'm done saying thank you so much to Carmen, aka Skillet, PJ
Skillet.
Thomas, TJ Jackson-Bey out in Missouri, Bill Victor Arucan,
Arucan.
Homer Frizzell, Eve England out in Wales, Yvette Blackmon, Dr. Anne-Marie Segal, Dr. Susan B. Gruner, Dr. Mohammed Noor, Titus Mohler, Tim Baum, John Mann, and Mark Roco. I barely got through those. Yep. We'll see on the other side on the 7th rule. And your house. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the 7th rule with Cirroc Lofton.
Hello, hello.
Surprise, surprise. It's the free-for-all, and Miss Chase Masterson has joined us. Hooray. We also have Eve England out in Wales, Homer Frizzell, Dr. Anne-Marie Segal, Dr. Mohammed Noor, and TJ Jackson-Bey wearing some cool-ass threads today.
Yeah.
First things first. And also possibly Melissa Longo. She's in and out. We'll see what happens. First things first, Chase, you were going to tell us a fun little behind the scenes story.
Thank you. Well, I'm not sure if I've told this on this show before, because I do recount Dr. Bashir, I presume, as the favorite episode that I did, my favorite episode. And that was because it has a fun storyline, I think. It covers a lot of ground. With obviously, with Bob Picardo. I mean, what more do you need to say, right? We love Bob Picardo. By the way, I'm calling from Italy, and I'm already talking like this. But I loved working with Bob Picardo, and I'd be happy to tell you this fun little story if you'd like, unless I already have, in which case you can just stop me.
I think
we want to hear it.
Please tell us.
We want to hear it.
Thank you. So I loved working with Bob Picardo because Bob Picardo is so fast. Just, boom, boom, boom. You have to have had a lot of coffee or woken up really early and gotten yourself in shape in order to even keep up with Bob Picardo. And so he did all these wonderful little things in that scene where he comes into Lita's quarters and he's bringing flowers, right? And that was in the script, but what wasn't in the script, this isn't this funny story, but I'm just going to throw this in. Because he knows his character so well, it just is one of those actors that just thinks of things spontaneously in that mode all the time. So while I was in the other room, while Lita was putting on her towel or whatever, Dr. Zimmerman can't help himself. So he's like all OCD, like arranging things in Lita's quarters, like, oh, that needs to go there. Oh, that needs to go there. And it just, just being his OCD, picky little self. And the scene I loved the best was, if you'll remember, you probably discussed this, Lita is going to leave Deep Space Nine because Rom will not profess his love. And I was so heartbroken, so forlorn over Rom that I just couldn't stand it anymore. And I was going to go off with Bob Picardo because he's going to give me my own cafe, right? Have I told this story before?
Nope.
No.
Okay. So here we are. Lita and Dr. Zimmerman are leaving Deep Space Nine, never to return again. She's said her goodbyes. She's getting on the shuttlecraft with Bob Picardo when we hear this voice wailing in the distance. Lita! He says, and Bob Picardo says, and he says, Lita, wait. And Bob Picardo says, we heard you the first time.
Yeah.
And Rom says, Lita, I love you. And I say, oh, Rom, as I always said, oh, Rom, and we're going to live happily ever after. And that's great for us, but it's not great for poor Bob Picardo because he doesn't, not only does he not get the girl, they didn't give him an exit line. So what is Bob Picardo going to do? Just like fade off into the scenery and let us take the scene? Not Bob Picardo. No.
Ooh, suspense.
Oh, this is it. Build up. climax.
This is good. Maybe that was the last line.
Bob Picardo.
It's coming. I can feel it.
It's going to be a good one, though. It's going to be real
I can
funny.
feel it. I can feel it.
Maybe it's Garrick that doesn't like being upstaged.
Maybe she's talking to Melissa.
Bob Picardo is like a super fast, super sharp guy. He's one of those guys that is so witty and just comes up with stuff like right on the spot. So
Went where no.
I can
Thanks a lot in a single word.
Oh,
Huh?
you're back, Chase. We lost you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know you lost me.
No, so the last thing you said was no, 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 but then we didn't hear what the actual line was that he was going to say.
Okay.
So we're ready for it.
Oh, the suspense. All right. So
Yes.
was he going to just give us the scene? No, not Bob Picardo. Bob Picardo went where no actor has ever gone before. Now, Cirroc will attest to this. Cirroc, were we ever allowed to add a line?
No, there was no line adding. Not without
line
15 phone calls.
No line
It'll
adding.
take half a day to clear a line.
Right. Exactly. So ordinarily it would take like a week and a half, right? Bob asked if he could have a line. It went through all 6 episodes and it came back down. Yes. Okay, Bob, you can have a line. What would you like to say? He said, let me try a few things. So here we are.
Let me try a few things.
Famous last words from Bob Picardo. Rob and I are kissing. He's getting his makeup all over me. Rob and I are kissing, and Bob Picardo sees this alien woman walking on the shuttlecraft. This is the
Was that? There you go, Ryan.
There. That's pretty funny. Well, that's too bad. Now she's going to have to tell the story 3 times.
Oh man. Well, she is calling from Rome, so
Yeah, from
I can only
Rome to
imagine
Rome.
that's from Rome. Yeah, from Rome with love. That would be me calling from Ethiopia, essentially. Probably a lot worse.
True.
So I can feel her pain.
Well, looks like Chase is coming back here. But no, she's leaving us. But you guys, when she does come back, if you guys have any questions for her after this funny story, feel free to jump in with those. And until then, you guys have any thoughts on this particular episode? Oh, real quick. So Cirroc mentioned a couple of the NAMs. He mentioned Nog and Prima Donna. Sorry, Primavera. Wait, what's her name? Primadora.
Provolone?
Did you guys catch the other 2 NAMs?
I only got one other one. I got Khan.
Good catch.
And Molly, I think I had as well.
Molly, that's right.
Oh, right.
But she's a NAM like in almost every episode lately.
And there was the baby, but I didn't think that counted.
Right.
Kyoshi?
Oh, did they say the
Wait,
baby
you
too?
No, they just said the baby.
Ah.
They
Oh,
But
didn't
you
say-
counted him for that before.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, I missed it.
Nice catch.
God, Kira Yoshi's dominating.
Yoshi, huh?
Coming out of nowhere. Kira Yoshi's going to be the
Mentioned
next
since
Chicago.
birth. It's very high.
Yeah, since before birth even. All right. Besides that, any thoughts on this episode, guys? Anne-Marie, you usually have a
I
lot
was
to
thinking about
say.
what Chase Masterson said right now when she was talking about that story, kissing Rom and having all that makeup on her. I was wondering about the time in between takes to get her reset back to
Yeah.
orange.
That's a good point.
Every time they're going to have to clean her up,
Read the-
clean off that orange.
Yeah.
It is interesting how negative they are about genetic engineering in general, and this is
I
something that comes up all the
love
time. I mean, and I get the thing with Khan, and like there was that speech at the end from the admiral or whatever. He was a little stiff, by the way, I have to say, just between us.
Just between
But-
us and whomever's watching.
And whoever's watching this video,
Yeah.
no offense to the actor. Sorry if you're watching, but it's interesting because it's a tough question, right? Like, where do you draw the line? You know, where it's really not obvious where it's okay and where it's not okay, and that's something that people are probably
Especially in those
hoping to
episodes
find.
coming up where when things go wrong, how you fix it.
Yep, very
Yeah.
true. Chase,
Well,
thank you
how
so
bad-
much
oh, sorry.
for coming back. I mean, she's calling from Rome, everybody, so this isn't the easiest thing in the world, but she's definitely doing it for us and for you. So we appreciate it. Chase, you're back, right?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me. I don't know how much of the end of that story you heard.
He said, let me try a few things or something of that nature, but we didn't hear
Yeah.
what he tried.
Okay, so thank you for asking. The first, no, I'm sorry. The take that they used, which we all thought was very funny, was as he's following this woman off onto the shuttlecraft, Ram and I are kissing, and he follows this woman off onto the shuttlecraft, and he says, "Excuse me, miss, have you heard about my work in Kama Sutra?" Which we all thought was really funny. But the take he did first, which I thought was hilarious, but they didn't use, was as we're kissing and he follows this woman off onto the shuttlecraft, he says, "Excuse me, miss, have you heard about my work on Star Trek Voyager?" Yeah.
That's
So
pretty
anyway,
good.
yeah, not bad. That'll get you dates, Bob.
Yeah.
The dates. I have a question for you, Chase. In that episode, it looks like you came out of the shower or you dropped your robe on him or something. Did they close the setup for that? Did they make sure that everybody wasn't around? Because I didn't get an invite to the set.
You know, television magic. I had more clothes on then than I do now.
What?
Yes, I had a total bodysuit on. I mean, it was like up to here.
Okay.
No.
Hmm.
No, I was not actually naked with Bob Picardo, but it was funny because so I'm going to tell you one more thing. So prior to that, people were saying like that Chase and Bob, before the episode aired, they're like, Chase and Bob have this scene where she's naked. I don't know. Is it a hot tub scene? Is it like something steamy? Is it, guys, it's not Days of Our Lives or Melrose Place. It was, yeah.
All right.
Star Trek on Showtime.
It's Cinemax. Melissa's joined us, by the way. We see you. I think we hear you.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello,
There she
Lisa.
Oh my gosh. That was
Glad
an
you made it.
ordeal.
Sorry that as soon as you showed up, Cirroc was saying something about being naked and stuff, but you know what to expect on the show. That's pretty much what we talk about all day.
I was surprised to hear that she said she had more clothes on than and it didn't appear
Like
that
that.
way.
Thank you. Yeah, but Bob really played into it because we did these interviews before the episode aired, and he's like, "Yeah, Chase, she's got a lot of energy." Whatever.
Whatever.
Him.
I only had eyes for Ram.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, Chase, by the way, that moment right after you guys kissed, and Ram is just like I was saying earlier, he's short-circuited. He's just like, oh, how did you, as an actress, keep a straight face while you've got this guy in your face making those noises and reactions, but you're delivering a line right past him to somebody else and keeping a straight face? I don't know if you remember that, but I don't know how you did it.
Like, thank you. How does anyone ever keep a straight face around any of these people? And I mean, I think, probably Cirroc, you can agree with this too. Like, an actor's real nightmare is overacting. It's like, you always want to be like, did you believe me? Was I too much? For me anyway, that's my nightmare. It's like, was I too much? And all you have to say is, look who you're working with. Look who you're talking to on camera. No, you're not too much.
I love the intensity you had as you were talking to them. Like every time you had a conversation with Ron, that intensity, that anticipation, you could feel it in the audience. There was like, whoa, yeah, that was great.
Yeah, especially when he came and interrupted the dinner.
Yeah.
and he's trying to get his words out, and you can just see the expectation on your face, and then the disappointment when he says, "I want to fix your replicator."
Yeah. Also, the conversation when he was going to leave, or when you were saying that you wanted to potentially leave, and was the disappointment there when you didn't do anything. That was great.
Thank you. I always
I always worry about the people listening and not watching. People watching are like, "Oh, no problem, just an audio glitch." But the people listening are going like, "Is this thing still on?"
Pause.
So Chase, if you can hear us right now, your audio dropped out for a second. When you come back, when your audio comes back, we'll let you know. Anybody else have any thoughts on this? I feel like Homer's been sitting very patiently throughout this whole free-for-all. Any thoughts on the episode?
I haven't felt patient, but thank you for saying so. I liked being introduced to Bashir's parents, and I thought it was a nice touch, and it gave his character a lot more depth. And everybody has or had some sort of relationship with their parents, and things that they thought could have gone a little bit differently. And I think that they did a great job of adding that layer of complexity to his character. Yeah, and I could see pretty much everyone's side in the family dynamic. So it wasn't like unevenly handed, if that's a phrase. So I thought it was well done. Yeah.
We learned Bashir is half brothers with Raj from Big Bang Theory.
Yeah, that's really fun. But also, like, it works perfectly if you look back now at seasons before, because you can just like make your headcanon that he was actually altered, and it plays perfectly and makes his character actually better on rewatches.
Yeah, it definitely works with that valedictorian, when he's taking that test and he doesn't want to seem too perfect.
Right.
So he screws up on purpose.
Exactly. Or racquetball or darts.
Yeah.
Or everything.
And I love the scene at the end with O'Brien, and they're playing darts. Let's try it here.
You stand over here.
Yeah.
The way O'Brien said that was so good, because what did he say exactly? He said, and if that doesn't work, we'll try a blindfold. And
it was such a great development in their friendship as well. Like, he is saying, "I'm a fraud" to O'Brien, and O'Brien is completely understanding, rather than, "What, you genetically, and we played whatever racquetball and darts and you were beating me and now you didn't tell me." So he was very understanding instead. So I thought that was nice.
Yeah.
And by the way,
go ahead.
I'm still looking forward to the cosplay that you two are going to do in about 30 days in Vegas.
Oh yeah, right.
You mean the
cosplay?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, the
Homer,
tennis.
I think
Racquetball,
you mean the
tennis.
cosplay that we're doing today, this weekend.
Oh
right?
my goodness. That's right.
This weekend.
It's happening. People, get out.
Look
there
at us,
and
right?
check it
You
out.
missed us, Homer.
You'll see it.
You didn't see it. It just happened.
Which hall are you guys in? Is it the DeForest Kelly one?
We're in the
Or just
Hall of
wandering around?
Notes.
Oh boy.
Thank you, Muhammad.
You
That was
did.
awesome.
Muhammad, did you gave them some sort of positive feedback on that?
Like Ryan's puns.
It was visual. For those of you listening in, Muhammad was beside himself with laughter, but he was just politely muted so as not to,
No, Homer, I thought you brought up a good point when you talk about the development in O'Brien's relationship with Bashir. I thought that the moment where he basically told Bashir what had transpired with his parents in the hologram version, he's basically, number one, doing what you want your friend to do, which is, if your friend is privy to some information that you don't know, you want them to tell you, right? Hey, I was here and I overheard them saying this. And even though if it implicates yourself, and Bashir could have been mad at O'Brien he was mad for what he thought was setting it up or being involved in it. But I think what a friend does is come right away and tell you, hey, this is what's going on. This is what I heard. This is what is going on. And even further than that, he said, okay, instead of being mad about it, we have a problem on our hands, and what are we going to do? Because when the Federation finds out, they're going, we have to fix this. So basically, being on his side about the solution too, as well. So I thought that kind of really took a big step for O'Brien to kind of really reach out and be there for his buddy when his buddy needed him, right? Because he's facing elimination from Starfleet and all this stuff. So I thought O'Brien stepped up to the plate and showed that he was a good friend, a true friend.
I agree.
That is a true friend when they say we have a problem, not like man, you're in trouble.
That's not what are you going to do?
Have a problem. We need to fix this.
Yeah, we got to do this. We got to do something about this. Exactly. And I thought that was great. I also thought that Bashir was hard on his parents, a little bit too hard. And the scene where his mom opens up and explains, like, this is what this is what it's like being a mom with a kid. And this is what it's like. That was like eye-opening for me, because that's what parents have to make. They have to make these kinds of decisions for their kids, whether they're dealing with special needs or learning disabilities or whatever it is. Parents have to make certain decisions that are difficult. And it's easy in hindsight for a kid to say, you shouldn't have put me in that school, or you shouldn't have did this, or shouldn't have did that. It's like, hey, this is what I want. I wanted the best for you, and you couldn't tell the difference between a giraffe and a UFO. So we had to do something, man.
Cirroc and I had a good laugh off of that. You guys catch that line where he was saying he didn't know the difference between a dog and a cat or a tree and a house? Yeah. That's not a little bit slow for a 6-year-old.
Yeah. So I just thought it was good that he got that kind of a conversation, because we all often, people have these things where I wish my parents had done something differently, and they didn't move, or they didn't do this, they didn't pull me out of a school. And there's so many reasons that we don't understand as children for why parents do things, why adults do things. So I'm glad that he got through that reckoning process in this episode too.
And the hug with his dad near the end was just perfect.
Yeah. And his dad stepped up to the plate and did what Bashir was accusing him of not being able to do, which is have accountability, right? Yeah. He's like, I'm going to show you accountability. I'm going to be accountable for this. It's not going to fall on you. So I thought those were all around good things. It seemed weird that the judge and jury of this entire process, though, of the genetic engineering process, is not like a council or a group or a organizing body. It's just one guy who pops up and says, yeah, I think you'll go to jail for, it's like.
Yeah, it was like the quickest decision ever.
Yeah, it's like kind of like, seriously, this is the court, this is the system. Like, Starfleet sends one guy and he decides what your fate is. You would think is like more of a process to it. Like, you have appeals, you submit stuff in writing, or I don't know. There'd be a whole process behind it.
Well, guys, we only have
interesting.
Sorry, we only have a couple minutes left, but please, TJ, absolutely go. By the way, can you show us that cool shirt? You were showing it to us before we recorded, but it looks freaking amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. Hang on. Sorry. Let me spotlight it.
I love that.
Magic. Gorgeous.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, I was thinking it was interesting that, the Admiral at the end of that, I mean, he's supposed to go to jail. He's like, all right, I'll see you when you get here.
Yeah, that was funny. Report to my
he's just fly through the wormhole and be gone.
Right.
I also thought it was interesting that the Admiral made a contrast between, he said, for every Julian Bashir, there's a Khan Singh.
Yes.
So he recognizes that Dr. Bashir, yes, he's genetically, altered, but he's not Khan. Like, he just recognizes that, like, okay, we didn't want this to happen, but it's not that bad. Like, we got a really good doctor out of this instead of a maniac trying to take over the universe.
It was weird that they said Khan's full name, but they said his last name, but they didn't say his first names, which are Virtual Trek. But
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah.
That's a
Oh,
good
wait.
one.
That
What
would
am I
have been a
doing?
There
nail.
you go.
There you go.
Con virtual Trek Con.
so we do have to run real quick, but I'm seeing some cool shirts by Eve England. If you want to show us that, Eve, real
Love that
quick.
one.
Where did you get that?
That's Abyssinian kiosk.
Abyssinian
Special
kiosk. In the description box below, you will find it. Same thing with Homer's awesome shirt. I'll
Yeah.
just bet.
I had to go with the Sisko kid today.
Styling.
Gorgeous. Somebody else has some
Look
goodies
at
on.
Ron's eyes.
I just bet. What are you wearing, Mohammed?
I'm wearing the Walking Art by Melissa shirts. Just a simple tailor. I love it.
Walking art made by Melissa.com in the
I
description
may have
box
to get one of
below.
those.
And it looks like Melissa's wearing the Kira special from Walking Art made by
Yeah.
Melissa.com. Also in the description box below. Anne Marie, we're just gonna
I'm
guess.
obviously wearing Frankie eyes.
Frankie eyes.
Serengeti eyes.
My favorite.
Never would have guessed that.
Yeah.
And
Are
this episode got a
watching
10.
you. Isn't that Hall & Oates that sings that song, Private Eyes?
I have no idea.
I think it is.
Sing it for us. Sing it for us.
Ferengi eyes are watching you. That's it. That's all.
There you go.
Because we got to run.
Nikki DeBoer is in a show called Private Eyes now,
Yes,
right?
it's so good. And guess who the producer is?
Wow. Good knowledge.
The
Good
producer's
knowledge.
Michael
Good
Pillar's
knowledge.
son.
Michael
Pillar.
Pillar's
Sean
son.
Pillar.
Gorgeous.
It's awesome. It's
Brilliant.
really good.
Excellent knowledge.
All right. So, yes. So we got to run. Everybody, thank you all so much for joining us. Anne Marie, Eve England, Homer, TJ, Mohammed, and Melissa. We'll see everybody on the other side next week on the 7th rule. Always remember it.